Okay.
All right. So this is the Identifying Liquids Lab. And we have 4 clear liquids we're starting off with. We have alcohol, we have water, vinegar, and hydrogen peroxide. And we are going to do some different tests to find out what each of these 4 liquids are that we have in the cups here. So which one goes to which of those liquids. So first test we're going to do is our melting point. So the point at which it turns from a solid to a liquid and what that temperature is. So we froze all 4 liquids overnight. And liquid number 3 did not actually freeze. So Mr. Olson's going to take the temperature of that liquid. So it never actually turned into a solid in our freezer overnight. So liquid number 3, we're going to write down its temperature since it's already
11
liquid.
Celsius.
Liquid number 3 is 11 degrees Celsius. Did not freeze overnight.
But yeah, it's going to be important to note that it did not freeze as well.
And so then we'll also write in our data table that it did not freeze.
So we'll take a look at liquid 1 next. And it's starting to melt a bit, but it's still overall frozen. It's in. And it looks like we have a temperature looks like it's about 0 degrees Celsius. A little bit warmer as it's starting to melt, so we'll say 0 for liquid 1, and it's starting to melt. Liquid 2, I think we're gonna have to come back to this one because it is still just above 0, and it's still a chunk of, it's a solid. I don't know what liquid it is, but it's solid. So we're gonna come back to that one to try to look at its melting point, because melting point, we said, is where it goes from a solid and changes state into a liquid.
4?
Oh yes, number 4.
Number 4 looks like it's starting to change over into a liquid. Even more so than maybe even liquid 1, or 1.
Looks like it's about 1 degree Celsius.
Okay. Recording that in our data table, a melting point of 1 degree Celsius. And we'll come back to liquid 2 a little bit later. So we're going to look at some other different properties of these liquids to see if we can figure out what each of these liquids are. I think the next one we're going to look at is odor. And in science, we never directly smell the odor because we don't know if it's something dangerous. So what we do, put it close and then you just waft the odors near you. And I don't know about, you want to, number 1, I'm not smelling, doesn't seem to have an odor.
No, I'm not getting any odor either.
Okay, so I'm going to say no odor.
Number 2, I'll check this one. I'm getting a little bit of something.
A slight odor for number 2, so we'll write that yes, it does have an odor.
Number 3. Yes, there's an odor there.
Definitely number 3, there's an odor, so we're going to say yes in our data.
Number 4. I don't smell anything.
Don't smell anything? Nope, no odor. So we'll write none in our data table again.
Okay.
Then the next property I think we can look at is solubility. And so we're going to look to see how well sugar, salt, and corn oil dissolve in these different liquids. So first let's look at how sugar dissolves in these 4 different liquids.
Okay. Do you want me to move the camera, or do you want to move the camera so it can be kind of above? Because I don't know how well it'll see here. All right, so we'll start with sugar, and we'll take a look at number 1. So we'll put in a bit of sugar to see if the sugar dissolves. Just gonna shake it up. I gotta move my nose back a little bit. These chemicals are strong smelling. It looks like it's definitely starting to dissolve. It's just taking a little bit of time. Okay. So I'll write that in our data table that we had sugar dissolved in 1. We'll look at sugar in 2 next. Now you can't see this on the video, but I'm grabbing a different toothpick to stir it so we're not contaminating these liquids. So we'll stir it up a bit. If we go back to 1, you can really see that it is definitely dissolved. Looks like it's taking a little bit of time, but it looks like it's starting to dissolve. So we'll come back to 2. We'll put a little bit of sugar in, sugar in 3. And I can see 2 is already dissolving. There's still a little bit left there. But if we come over here and we look at 3, we can see that it is definitely not dissolving currently. So I'm going to update the data table that 2 started to dissolve. 3, sugar did not dissolve. So we'll look at a little bit of sugar in liquid 4. We'll grab a clean toothpick to mix it up, and then I'll kind of spin it around to give it some chance to dissolve. And it looks like it's starting to dissolve. All of it's still taking a little bit of time, but that is allowed. We can still see here 3 though. There's still a lot that is not dissolved. So 3 did not dissolve, 1 did, 2 did with sugar, and 4, it looks like it's almost done dissolving. So sugar dissolved in liquids 1, 2, and 4. Okay, so what are we going to test next for solubility?
Salt.
Salt. We're using different ones. Okay, so we're going to use different ones here. So we'll put a little bit of salt in each one. We're going to speed things up a little bit. We'll just put them in each one to see how they dissolve. I might have put a little too much in each of these, but we'll see how they start to dissolve. So I can kind of view it from a different angle. Looks like 1 is starting to dissolve. 2 is pretty much already completely dissolved. 3 does not look like it's dissolving. And 4 looks like some of it dissolved, but I think I put a little too much in. I'm going to add some more of the liquid because I know what it is, to see if that helps it dissolve. So now 4 is starting to dissolve a bit better. So I see that the salt dissolved in liquids 1, 2, and 4, same as the sugar. So I'll record that in our data table. Okay. So here we definitely see 3 did not dissolve. Okay, and then next we wanted to see how the corn oil would do. So we'll put a little bit of corn oil in each. You can really see it kind of bubbling up to the surface, just like it did in our observing density activity. Okay, so we can see in one here, you can kind of see the bubbles on the top, and now it's kind of filling up the whole top surface. We get a side view maybe. You can kind of see there's a layer. Number 2, we can kind of see that there's the layer of oil as well. So 4, 3, good call. 3, it looks like it dissolved. Is that what you see?
Yeah.
And then we'll take a look at 4. And 4, I see this layer here again. So the oil only was soluble in liquid 3. So I'll record that in the data table. Okay, so flammability next. So this is definitely one reason why we have our glasses on, but also as we're moving these liquids around, we don't want any to splash up into our eye, especially because we do not know what they are. Do we need 4 more cups? Because we don't want to put it in these liquids.
Yes.
I think they're in that one back there. So for flammability, just like we did in class, I have a set of tongs. We are going to burn some paper scraps soaked in each liquid to see how it affects the flammability, to try to figure out, is this liquid flammable? I have our metal dish here where we're going to put the burnt paper scrap to see how things change, or see how the flammability is. Yes. So the flammability test is the last test we're going to do, and then hopefully we'll have enough information about these physical and chemical properties of these liquids to hopefully identify them. We'll have a chart where we can compare it to about some of the known properties of other liquids, and then hopefully we can identify it. So I need to prepare a few paper scraps. What we're going to do is we're going to put the paper scraps, we'll soak it in each liquid, and then we'll try to burn it to see if that is a flammable liquid. So you got one ready?
Go.
Okay, so I'm making sure the paper has a second to sit in here to make sure that it is soaked. And we will take a second, we'll hold it over the flame. I'll make sure the flame is visible. Sturza, can you make sure the flame is visible in the camera?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So, we'll hold it over. And it is not flammable. So number 1, I'm going to record in our data table that it's not flammable. So we'll take a look at number 2 next. Oh, this is a big paper scrap. So we'll take a look here. And 2 is also not flammable. You want to record that in the data table for me? The next one we're going to look at is 3. I dropped it. I can do this. We're going to grab a new paper scrap. Okay, so here's a new paper scrap. We're going to test this one. And that was very quick, that reaction. So we're going to go with yes. So then we'll check liquid 4. So I'm definitely going to move liquid 3 away from the flame because it is flammable. soak our paper scrap. So we're trying to test the liquid, not the paper itself, because we already saw in class that paper is flammable. It looks like it's trying. It's not as clear as that other one. We'll give it one more try.
Starting to char the paper a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we'll say slightly, or we'll say it's definitely a little more flammable than the first two, but not as much as liquid 3.
Back and check number 2's melting point. It's just barely starting to turn into liquid here. Mr. Olson, you want to take the temperature on this liquid here?
Okay, it looks like we're about 10.
About 10 degrees Celsius. Write that in our data table.
Okay, we're gonna blow out this flame.
Okay, now our last step is to identify or find the identity of these liquids. So in class, we're going to discuss what the properties of each of the 4 possibilities have and how the properties that we've discovered, how they might match what liquid.
Yeah, and you'll have a reference sheet that talks about our 4 liquids, and it talks about some of their properties, such as their odor, is it flammable, is it soluble, well, and you'll kind of compare it to the data table that we've made, and you'll do your best to identify, to go back and answer our original question.
And solve the mystery of what are those 4 liquids, and can you identify what 4 clear liquids are?
Good luck.